went into the decision-making process? It looks like you guys used custom cisterns as opposed to readily available, already produced. What went into that decision? That was kind of interesting.
One was, typically everywhere all over the houses you see 600 and 800 gallon plastic cisterns on the roof. And we at one point considered putting cisterns on the roof, but we really wanted to capture all the rainwater, and so which meant a sloping roof. And we really wanted to keep it, the roof structure simple. So it kind of led us down a path of the truss system, and what was readily available led us away from putting the cisterns on the roof. And then once we looked at burying them, we could have filled that cistern with plastic ones and let it be, but they're much more difficult. Then you have to provide free space for a person to get in between each one, and then it grows. And then connect them and pipe them, and then somebody's got to maintain all the connections. And so this was a way of using local labor, which is really quite skilled in plaster work, and doing that. I think now we probably have, on the next building, we'll probably make sure they put some sort of sheet membrane up, because we know the plaster is probably not going to hold indefinitely. But this allows one person to go in, and it gave us the most capacity. So each half of the building has 25,000 gallons, which during the heaviest months will just barely get filled. And at something like 100 gallons a day, even if every kid washes their hand 3 times a day like they're supposed to, there's still plenty of water left over for the community. So, and then there's another kind of side note. There's a USAID watershed just up the hill, and when they saw our site plan and the cistern capacity, they may actually start funneling water from the watershed into some of the lower cisterns that are closest to the road for the community to use.
I think it's easy, obviously, as architects and engineers, even if we do 99.9%, we're always like, what's the lesson learned? How do we get to the 0.1%? But I'm wondering, maybe away from the engineering and the process, what was the experience for you guys like to do this? Because it's a pretty extraordinary thing that you did, that we did together. So.
I don't know, it was a pretty great process, just as far as personally, it was really kind of like energizing to try something completely new and out of the box. And we're always taught in school to okay, if you were going to build this yourself, how would you build it? How would you draw it? And this was like that, just times 10. Because not only how would I do that? How would I do it? Not knowing what tools and resources there will be, and trying to be really flexible. And the AfH office was really great about that, because they had a whole wealth of knowledge on different projects, so everybody kind of had their own spin. So depending on who you talk to, you might get a little different answer. And I thought that was really great, because you got kind of a synthesis of information and differing opinions that I thought was really, really interesting. So everybody's brief spin on problem-solving techniques was really cool.
I think that to go along with that for some of us it was pretty life-changing to be, working in an office where, for example, I mostly work on custom homes that have butler's pantries. No butlers usually, but butler's pantries, closets bigger than my living room. It was just really, I don't know what the word is, gratifying to go back to these, and I think I'm paraphrasing something that Stephanie said, go back to the basics of architecture, and have your decision-making have to be based on really elemental things like what materials are available and what technology is available. And I think for some of us it renewed our love of architecture, because it's also, it's a great profession, but it's also, you can really have a love-hate relationship with it. And this one was all love. So.
Can I build on that, Lisa? How has this experience changed the way you guys practice in your normal practice? Has it changed the way you design that $3 million home?
It has a little bit. It's mostly maybe changed my attitude about things. I guess it's easier, sometimes I find it's easier to make a decision about what the right choice is between something. I don't know why. If you can get away from what something looks like and think more about the function, that's a good place to start in making decisions. you know, it's also been interesting to see the contrast between these clients, you know, here in Haiti, and then some of our other clients who are doing great work and great projects, and we're really happy to be working on those. But to see the differences, it makes, in me anyway, it makes me feel like I've got more of a balance in my life, and using this profession to you know, create more of a balance and equity in what people have. If that makes any sense. Well, I would also like to say that because of this project, we've signed up with Public Architecture's 1% program now, and we're starting to make social responsibility and donating design services part of our model, the way our office works. And we've had a lot of clients and consultants be really excited about what we're doing and want to know more about it.
Can I just make a quick comment? My name's Jesse Engel. My brother is John, who is the client on this project in Haiti. I just happen to live in the Bay Area here and have recently gotten connected with some of you on BAR. And so I've been involved in my brother's organization for about 20 years. He's been living down there and focused on education the whole time, has partnered with community schools up until now. And so this is really the first time that they're taking on and building their own academy that will become a model, not just for their other community schools, but for a much larger number of schools throughout Haiti. And so I just wanted to express my appreciation and his appreciation as well, the entire organization, Haiti Partners, for the work that you guys have been doing in bringing this to life. It's had a huge impact already on Haiti Partners, on the community, and as the school takes shape, will impact lots of lives in a very positive way. Kids who would not otherwise be going to school at all will be getting an education. That's pretty profound. So very important work, and thank you.
Where did the funding finally come for this school? Is it from your brother's?
We're working on it.
Okay, so that's
We're still working on it. Yeah, it's coming from the donor base, the Haiti Partners donor base, and that's mostly donors in the U.S. and Canada.
What stage is the building at now? Is it finished, or is it still in construction? Or
So after that last photo with the kind of rebar beam structure pickup, there was a kind of a 1.5 month, 2 month pause where we were trying to get an engineer to come out to the project and also get the contractor to actually have a foreman on the job site, because this foreman was showing up once a week or so and just kind of letting people run the rest of the week. So once we got all of that figured out, they've now corrected, I think they've corrected everything that the engineer deemed deficient. They've actually started going back up again. So the last thing they'll do is the last set of beams and columns on the top, and then they'll do the steel trusses in the roof. So it's over 50% completed. I think it's creeping up towards 75 as we speak.
That's building one.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
building one.
this is the first building?
Yeah, first building.
Is accessibility an issue for the school since it's on a hillside? Is that important to the community, or?
When you look at this site is really steep, and the road getting up there on both sides is in places well over 10% grade. Even the 4-wheel drive vehicle has tough time getting up the road. But once you get up there, we did actually try and keep a level loop within kind of the ballpark of ADA guidelines, so that if anybody's up there and they're at least on crutches, or if they're lucky enough to afford a wheelchair, they can at least get around those areas. We couldn't really utilize drains or anything to give us that kind of like seamless transition, so all the buildings have a couple concrete steps to get up to them, just to keep water and everything off. When you get 2 inches of rain in an hour, you've got to do something with it.
Hi. I wanted to hear a little bit more about your the workshops at the beginning of the project, and who was involved, and like how did you structure the community engagement, whatever workshops you did. Kind of just talk a little bit about that.
The community meetings that we had down there, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, John Engel, who lives there, not too far away from the site, he's very involved with the community, and he was the one who set up the meetings with them. He speaks Creole fluently, so he's a very active member in the community, and he would just tell us, okay, we're going to have a meeting on this day, so whoever the current VAR person was down there at the time would prepare a set of current drawings, and we would project them on a screen. And so when I went down there, I showed our current drawings and I talked about them, and he translated Creole, and we had questions and answers, and that was it. It's pretty simple.
And who was there? Were the kids there?
There were kids and adults. Everything from 10 years old to 50 or 60 years old. Maybe 20 or so people came to the meetings. So they were held at a small church, really close to the project site. So members of the church and their friends and family. Funny, when I was there for my community meeting, there was a funeral happening, and so we had to wait for the funeral to end, and there was a procession outside of the church going down the road. So we had people come back after the funeral to attend my meeting, but that was just.
Did you talk to the kids about, maybe that was, you kind of got upstaged by the funeral, but did you describe to them the water harvesting that you were doing and do some education on sustainable building strategies you were doing? Did you kind of get the kids involved in that?
And we sometimes it's hard to describe building systems in detail to people who aren't architects. Even here, I would have a hard time describing cisterns to lay people. But we wanted to get them knowledgeable of what their buildings were going to do, because of course they're going to use the buildings. So we did our best to describe what we were doing to keep it sustainable. That why the roofs are going to slope a certain direction and a certain angle, and where the water was going to be, how they're going to be able to use it.
Great to be able to go back during construction and do some kind of workshop on the site with children.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
I mean, because that's even happening here in the Jeff Engel? I don't know if you can speak to, if you can speak to the curriculum there that's happening, but here in our elementary and middle school, they're trying to get the kids to really understand all those systems, integrate that into their science programs, and it seems, I'm just curious if you're going to try to do that there as well.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's a great point, something that we should talk more about. It's a great educational opportunity.
Yeah, and there, I think, I think we said before, sustainability happens very much out of necessity. So, when you don't have when water is very precious, you use it in a different way already. You don't just dump out the cooking water, you do something else with it. It's kind of a natural way to think there. But one thing about this site is that with this very, very steep site, and with the buildings kind of going in a ring around the flatter part of the site, the idea was that there would be an amphitheater built into the hillside, but also there would be some stepped gardens, so that part of the school and the education would be growing things in the gardens, cooking them. And even when I was on the site, I think I was coughing, and a little boy pointed at this plant, and I realized, I speak French, but I don't speak Creole, and I realized he was trying to tell me that if this was good for your throat, this plant, which was really neat. Yeah. I didn't try it. Because I wasn't sure if that's what he was saying, or maybe he was saying this is poisonous. I don't know. So.
I just want to say that the community meetings for me, that was the best part of the whole experience for me. It was pretty amazing, and practicing here in the U.S., you don't get that face time with the person, the end user of the project. I mean, oftentimes you're meeting with your client who's either an owner's representative or a developer. So, you know, this was an opportunity to meet with the people who are going to be using this school on a daily basis, the people in the community, and that was really rewarding. And, you know, despite, I mean, and nobody there was architects, but they were all very aware of, you know, what this school needed to have to facilitate the use in the community. And there's actually, there was a urban planner that lived in the area, and him and his wife, I think, were both urban planners, and they were present at all the community meetings and were very vocal about, you know, water collection and roof slope and light and air access. And they provided some really valuable comments that I would say drove the design throughout the process. So.
Probably have to wrap up here. Do we have maybe time for one more question? Or?
I'm coming from Italy. I was involved in the reconstruction of the city of L'Aquila a couple of years ago. We had a great earthquake there. And I was impressed at that time about the energy of the people after this great trauma. It's probably a natural reaction you have when you suffer for that trauma. Unfortunately, in that case, the master plan was imposed by the government, but they really wanted to participate on that phase, but they didn't. So I'm really happy to know that in this case, in the design phase, there was a participation activity with the city. My question is, were you able also to involve people in the construction phase? Because if you use them, they can have a way for their energy, you can reduce cost, and also maybe it's a way for them to learn a new job.
You know, I remember when I went to the site, a man came up and he was telling me he was a mason, and everybody was really interested in helping on this project. The groundbreaking people were there digging, and I think that one of John Engel and Haiti Partners' goals was to, you know, they want a professional contractor, but they also wanted to give employment to the people in the area. So that was part of the goal. But, yeah.
It's a training opportunity too,
Yeah.
for AfH to train the locals on proper construction techniques and methods, and then for them to learn that craft and then teach others. It's the experience and the knowledge grows.
I'd like to give you guys a big hand. Thank you so much for coming out.